everybody, good morning, it's Rendon, coming at you live from Seamless Invasions. It probably took me a little bit too long to get to this point, but I really wanted to have a character kind of set in both worlds, or a couple characters set in both worlds, in base Elden Ring and in Seamless. So I went through, played the whole game through again, and created a rune level 77 character. I was thinking about it, and I've been making a lot of melee build invasions recently, which I've obviously talked about to no end. So I gave in and decided I'd finally make a mage build. There you go, Rofo. Here it is. This is the Lunar Udex. It is a 42 int, 42 vigor, 20 endurance, 20 mind build. So basically, it is just a mage. It is a mage who can use only one weapon, the Lazuli Glintstone Sword, because there's no stats for anything else. But this is fun. The only other thing that's interesting about this character is that it is a beloved Stardust build at rune level 77. The one thing that I knew is that I wanted to make, because I only kind of make this, is a melee sorcerer build. So I guess I'm not getting that far from what I was doing originally anyway. But the Carrion Knights were, I think, rightfully, and not just to me, but to a lot of people, some of the really cool lore entities in this game. There's like 20 or 30 of them, respectively, and no more than that. And we see like 2 or 3 in-game at most. So I wanted to create one that felt suitably unique, and also would fit within that realm and ethos of what a Carrion Knight would be. So this is it. This is the Lunar Udex. Basically, the idea behind this build is that he was the one who trained the Lazuli Glintstone Conspectus at Raya Lucaria and how to use the Carrion sorceries. He was their instructor. You can kind of see that with the offhand cestus, Lazuli Glintstone Sword, the Academy Glintstone Staff in the right hand, which was given to him. It's just he was a trainer. He was a judge of their spellcraft and their using of the lunar sorceries of the Carrions. And he was basically an attaché to Raya Lucaria itself while Renala was there. Obviously, things have changed, and he is no longer in favor at Raya Lucaria, and he's also not wanting to be in favor of Raya Lucaria. He's a Carrion Knight through and through. So he's become an invader of Tarnished, an invader of the Cuckoo Knights, an invader of the sorcerers at Raya Lucaria. He hates everybody. There's barely anything left of the house that he once served and everything he loved. So that's him. The one kind of thing that I was thinking about when I put this build together was, obviously I've been doing offhand cestus and punching for a while. That's no surprise. But I wanted to put parry on it, on the offhand cestus, and kind of see what you could do with that. And I was like, okay, well, if I can't really, do a whole lot of damage, so I'm just using the Lazuli Glintstone Sword. What's kind of like the lore thing I could do? I'm always thinking about when I'm putting together a build, what is the combo? What is the spell combination? What is the weapon combination? What is kind of the flow, the weapon flow, or the spell flow that I want to do? So in this one, I was curious, if I use Beloved Stardust, would the spell casting of Gavel of Haima be fast enough to smack somebody down after a parry? And I'm happy to confirm that indeed it is. So the thought was, okay, all right, when I make this build, what I want to try is, because people in Elden Ring, and Seamless is no different, are just relentless button mashers. It's like if I do L1 offhand punching with the cestus, and I immediately hit a parry afterwards, are people just going to keep swinging into that, not learning the lesson, and get parried? And they are. So if he's a teacher, if this lore-wise, the Lunar Udex teacher, he is not going to immediately take the riposte after that and just have them die. You can't learn from that. So what he does is the L1 punch into parry into the Gavel of Haima, which is not only funny, but also it's a statement. It is a big statement. It's like, okay, hey, look, I'm not going to kill you, but I'm going to do something really flashy for you to try to remember not to just button mash out of stagger. And hopefully, you get the point with this statement and you remember it. Some don't, but plenty of them actually did. So it was kind of fun in that sense. But I'll talk a little bit about the the spell combo, the spell rotation in this. That's obviously where most of the damage comes from. I'll talk about the weapon, Lazuli Glintstone Sword, in just a minute. This build is somewhat partially inspired by Sir Grey Fox's Carrion Knight. I think that most people know he's kind of the one that was experimenting before the DLC came out with max casting of the Carrion sorceries. He's not the only one, but when it comes to the idea of the Carrion Cross, which is just the Carrion Greatsword at max cast speed into Carrion Piercer, he's kind of the one that pioneered that, and how that was on a stable connection, a true combo. Now again, when Sir Grey Fox put this together, it was before the DLC, so they were using, I think, I can't remember what the staff is, but you know, the one that kind of boosts your spell speed at the cost of some mind or some, your spells cost more using it. And they had a certain bit of dexterity when they were putting it together, so again, it was a pre-DLC build, so they had a dex int kind of combo there, and I think that the build was at rune level 130 or a little higher, something like that. He did not have access to the beloved Stardust Talisman like we do now. Now, the beloved Stardust Talisman obviously makes you take 30% more damage, or your absorption is 30% less. So I opted for a little bit higher armor that still looked lore-wise like what a Carrion could look like in this. I think my negations are like 10% physical and like 2 or 3% elemental, but it's seamless and there's not really overleveled phantoms. So it's remarkable how okay that is when there's not overleveled phantoms from software. Maybe you should look into that. Anyway, it's been fun. And so obviously have Carrion Cross on this because that spell combo does like 700, 800 damage on a stable connection if it lands, and that's big damage. Gavel of Haima, Cannon of Haima is absolutely necessary in this because of just getting people who are stuck in rooms to move. I do not have the Mist on this, which is a shame, but it doesn't fit into the rotation, so I didn't do it. I also have, let me see here, what else on here? I opted not to do Carrion Slicer just because I don't necessarily have a problem with Carrion Slicer, but it's just kind of a mindless spell, so I didn't really want to throw that on there. But that's basically it. Oh, and oh lord, I'm not going to remember it. Basically the Glintstone Pebble spell, but it's the DLC Finger one. Just the one individual one, not the multiple. That, after you smack somebody down with Gavel of Haima or get a Carrion Cross combination on as they roll away and try to heal, it tracks them and is a really, really good finisher. So that is the last spell I have on that spell rotation. I didn't tell you the order. I don't remember it. I'm recording this while the video is not playing because my mind is too distracted right now to look at both the video playing and record audio. So you can imagine and look at the rotation in the video and see the rotation and how it's set up, and you'll figure it out. That's fine. You're all adults. You can, I think you can figure out what I'm doing for yourselves. But yeah, this has actually been really fun. Again, I think that were probably easier ways to put this build together. I could have used a mod, or I think that there's like the merchant mod where I could have gotten everything I wanted to, but I just opted, if I was going to do a seamless build, to just go through the entire game and play through everything again. And it was mostly fun. I'm not spending all my time in Elden Ring like I used to, but this has been fun to throw together, and it's lore-wise, gameplay-wise, it turned out really well. Now again, all of my damage is pretty much derived from spells and spell combinations in this. I'll talk briefly about the Lazuli Glintstone Sword. It's kind of the one weapon that really fit on this build, so I kind of made the lore around it. But it is still a good weapon. It obviously has that same R2 block into really good roll catch that the Carrion Knight Sword has. It's not as long as the Carrion Knight Sword, I'm pretty sure, so it's not quite as good. And it is, I think it scales slightly worse than the Carrion Knight Sword as well. But it's a really cool looking weapon, like the wood with the Lazuli, or with the glintstone embedded in it. It's really neat. It's just a good looking weapon. I really like it. It has the pebble built into it as the Ash of War, and that is underutilized as an Ash of War, I think. Rofo reminded me in his, I can't remember which build it was, but it was he had a build that he was using not too long ago that was using Glintstone Pebble on the Great Katana, and I just watched him roll catch people rolling away with that and killing them so many times, I was like, man, I forgot how good Glintstone Pebble is. It is just such a good mix-up. And so this had that on there, so it was just a perfect, another little mix-up weapon, Ash of War on this weapon, that worked perfectly for the build, and I've really enjoyed it. If you want to get into a little bit more dumb lore for this, technically, in my head, the Lazuli Glintstone Sword and the Academy Glintstone Staff, because they're both, like, wood, they kind of, as he switches them or soft swaps them, they're morphing from the staff to the sword. It's kind of like a Bloodborne, like, trick weapon, like, oh, it's a staff, then it's a sword, it, like, the wood reshapes itself, blah, blah, blah. You get my point. That's some of the lore in my head, but it's kind of dumb. But I like the thought. So there's that. I chose to, again, put the the Academy Glintstone Staff in my right hand for that L1 parry into Big Bonk setup. And it's been fun. Using a staff in your right hand is kind of a meme, but it works for this character, and I find it enjoyable. I think it's at 41 int where the Academy Glintstone Staff becomes the best staff for that int range before getting into like the really high level, high int staffs. Now, if you're going to be using just the Carrion Sword sorceries, the Carrion Glintstone Staff is still probably technically better because it gets a 15% spell boost for those, but since the majority of what I'm using is not only Carrion Cross with that Carrion Greatsword into Carrion Piercer, I'm also using Gavel of Haima, Cannon of Haima, the Glintstone Nail. See, I remembered it now. That's what the spell is called. I opted for getting that slightly more int, that 41, 42 int, so that I could use the Academy Glintstone Staff and get that extra bit of spell boost. So that's kind of why I went with the one that I went with now. Yeah, so that's pretty much it. That has worked perfectly fine for this build. And I always really like the Academy Glintstone Staff. Again, the Carrion Glintstone, not Glintblade, Glintstone Staff is the one I would probably have used most in the past. But if you're looking for kind of a versatile spell buff or spell boosting staff at around the 41 int range, this is going to be your most versatile one that you get the most out of, I think. Yeah, there's not really a whole lot more to talk about in this build. You kind of get the gist of it. It's been fun. It's been interesting. And I'll talk a little bit about Seamless for a minute. The difference has been nice. I have really noticed the lack of overleveled phantoms has really made invasions a whole lot better. Now, one thing that is a little bit more inconsistent is the stability of some of my connections. I am on an Ethernet cable, but I don't think that everybody is obviously on an Ethernet cable playing Elden Ring in Seamless on PC, but it just seems like there's a little bit more of a variability in the connections, which is okay until you get into some of the situations like I had yesterday morning where every single invasion I had, I was just getting hit by invisible things that I couldn't see, and people were just like glitching all over the place. It was pretty bad. But I really do like Seamless a lot. I think that the mitigation of damage in the fact that I'm coming into a world where the highest player in that world is more matched to me, and I have to kill every player in that world before I get kicked. So there's no incentive to just go after a host or Phantom is a good change up. I feel like I don't have to prioritize Phantom first, or if the Phantom is level 713, just prioritize the host. I can prioritize whoever I want to, and the natural kind of flow of the battle of the invasion. And whoever's most annoying, you can put them down first. And it just feels really good. So Seamless gets an A+ for that in my book. I really like the kind of the lore items that go with invasions in Seamless 2. The Challenger's Linchpin is a more interesting item, I think, than just a bunch of fingers you always get. So I like that too. I'm looking forward to playing more in Seamless. I don't know what kind of build I will make next, because this one took a lot of time to put together. I know that you can put them together a little bit more quickly. I think that that's something that maybe I would look into in the future if I really wanted to make a bunch of builds. But I'm pretty fine with this one right now. I might be playing with this one for a good bit until the next idea obviously comes to me, whatever that is. But it will come to me in time. Even as I play other games, I'm always thinking in the back of my head, occasionally Elden Ring will pop back up, and I'm like, oh, what weapon what could I do with this weapon? And the one that actually has been in my mind recently, because I fought someone, well, you saw it at the beginning of this video, was oh god, you know, one day I will be able to remember what weapons are, but I guess with a child, my memory is not what it used to be. It is the sword that you get from one of the death birds in Caelid. It's basically the one that's the big coal raker, the death coal raker, the great sword. You know which one I'm talking about, so just make fun of me in the comments and say what it is. But that's the one that I've been thinking of using next, and I think that I might try to do something with that. I think it's a quality weapon, if I remember correctly, so I might make something and do that for my next build, because I haven't used that in a while, and it's a pretty fun weapon, and it was a fun weapon to fight. Yeah, there's not really a whole lot more to talk about in this. I hope that you are all doing well. I actually took a poll the last time I put together a video about what people would like to see now that I'm doing less videos. If it was a longer form video like I've been doing, or a shorter form build video, it's like an idea moving forward. And the shorter form build video actually only got like 23%, but that's what I ended up making this time. It just happened to turn out that way. I'll be making both in the future probably. But